Welcome to the mini course on family only, restricting your website content. My name is Ed Thompson, and we're going to jump right in by explaining what problem we are trying to address. Basically, the use case is this. I have two separate branches of my family tree on my WordPress website, and I want to isolate them. First of all, I only want family members to be able to view those trees. And second, I don't want family members from one branch to see the branch on the other side of the tree. And this is a common use case. For instance, I might want to isolate my branch and who can see it from my wife's branch and who can see it. But there are other applications of what I'm going to show you, such as dealing with society memberships, for example. Any kind of restricted content website will be able to use what I am sharing today. And these are the criteria that I've laid out for myself in terms of finding a good membership plugin, a good plugin that will restrict content. Number one, I need to be able to easily add family members to a group. I need the option of adding a family member to more than one group, and I'll talk more about that in just a moment. I need to be able to restrict pages and posts, so not just one or the other. I need to be able to see who is in each group easily. I need to be able to manually add members to a group, and I need to be able to manually approve group membership when a user requests it. That way users can't add themselves to a group and then see stuff that they're not supposed to see. Now, the one criteria that I have that others may find questionable is I need the option of adding a family member to more than one group. So, for example, what you'll see today is that I have two groups, the Thompson group and the Hayward group. And I want the Thompson family to be able to see the Thompson group and the Hayward family to be able to see the Hayward group. And I need to be able to see both groups because I'm in both family trees, as would my children. I would want them to be able to be in both groups. Now, almost all of the plugins that we'll look at would be able to handle that by creating three groups, the Thompson group, the Hayward group, and the both group. I don't think that's the best way to handle it. However, it does put this particular criteria puts several of the plugins that we're going to look at a disadvantage. So I did want to point out that this may seem somewhat arbitrary once you look at it because there is a workaround for it. However, I know that it can be done, and I know that there are good plugins out there that can do it, so I'm going to stick to it. All right. Hello, Richard. Glad you could join us. So, how do we do this? And the spoiler is vanilla WordPress can't handle it. So by itself, the security features in WordPress are not able to handle this kind of content segregation. And let me show you why. When a user is created, let's add a user. Let's say the user is Bob. Okay, and I'm going to say Bob at forbecky.org, since that's an email I have. I'm not going to worry about these things. He'll get an arbitrary password. And then when a user registers, they get assigned a role. And you'll see some extra roles in here because I've been playing around with different plugins. But basically, the roles that are available are subscriber, contributor, author, editor, and administrator. But these 5 roles and some of the other roles that other plugins add are meant to control who can do content creation. They are not meant to control who can see which pages or who can see which posts. So a subscriber, for instance, is your typical default. It's read-only. Contributor is someone who can create content, but they can't publish it. An author can create and publish their own content on the website. An editor can create and publish their own content, and they can approve the content of others. So, for instance, a contributor. And then there's an administrator, which is kind of the person who can do everything, which you don't want to hand out. But again, this kind of role-based management is for content creation, and it's not for segregation of posts and pages. The other thing that WordPress by default offers, I'm going to pull up my About page here, and we'll see over on the side, let's see here, where is it? Maybe a little confusing because it's already published. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the quick edit because I think that will show me what I want to see. And the status can be, okay, that's not it either. So let's create a new page. We'll call it test. And when I open up the sidebar here, visibility, okay? I can create a post that's public, private, which means no one can see it but admins and editors, and then password protected. Now, the disadvantage of using password protection on a page is that, number one, you have to put a password on every page, which is a separate process. You can use the same password, but you do have to manually create the password on every page. And number two, you have to hand out the password to people who should be able to see the page. This is good for one-offs. If you're experimenting with something or you're not quite ready to make a post public and you want to have someone else look at it, but they're not a member of your website. But it's not really practical for our use case. And that's basically the options that are available to us in WordPress for content segregation, which is to say none. Now, let's look at the page that I've got, the website that I have. So this is my class website, and I have a variety of posts and pages, not that many. And then what I have here is I have two family trees I've loaded using the plugin Roots Persona. The Hayward family, of which here's a list of 5 of my direct descendants. Excuse the fact, please, that they're all male. I had to put this together really quickly, and it was easier for me to remember than to remember the Hayward name than to remember the maiden names of their associated wives. This is for test only. And then I have the Thompson family. And again, direct family line. Now, I want people in a Thompson group or Thompson membership or Thompson role to be able to see this page and any pages associated with it. All right, so I want them to see this page, and I want them to be able to see this page. For the Hayward family, I want them to be able to see this page, and I want them to be able to see this page, but I do not want them to be able to access the Thompson family pages, and vice versa. So how do I do that? Well, if I go to Add Plugins and type in membership to see all of the membership plugins, you'll see here that there's a wide variety of them. They're a little mix and match in that some of them are add-ons to other plugins, but we're going to go through some of the top ones here and going to identify the strengths and limitations of each of these plugins. And at the end, I believe we'll find 2 that are viable candidates based on the criteria that I have established. So the first one that pops up is Ultimate Member. It seems to has 200,000 plus active installations, and it's got 4.5 stars. And at this point, I should point out that another criteria on there that I have right now is a free option. It has to have a free option. So I have to be able to accomplish what I want to accomplish for free. I would be applying a different set of criteria to these membership plugins if I were using it for a paid membership, okay, which can be done. But for the sake of this class, I am going to focus on unpaid memberships. And then if we have some time at the end, I'll talk a little bit about paid memberships. All right, let's, any questions so far? If not, I will activate the first membership plugin. It's called Ultimate Member, and I'm going to click on it. Now, as we go along, there's going to be some artifacts that normally the plugin would add that have already been added on my website, because I had to test each and every one of these, and then I just simply deactivated them. I think by now you probably know the process for uploading a plugin or installing a plugin, so I'm not going into that. But we see here the ultimate member is now activated. If I look on the sidebar, where is, yeah, there we go. We have ultimate member. We have a dashboard, which is breaks down some of the memberships and anyone waiting for various confirmation. I have settings that I'll come back to. I have forms. Okay, so I can have a default. Basically, a membership plugin at some point needs to tie in with the login screen, a user registration screen, and a user profile screen that incorporates membership level information. So let's go to settings, because I think I'm going to drop this one very quickly. All right, so the first setting is the pages that I want to use for the user page, login page, register page, members page, a list of members, logout page, account page, and password reset page. And it has already chosen and created some defaults. I can also have some user information here, including enabling a members directory. There's not a lot here I'm going to play with. Count, this is information about what do we want to collect when a user registers. Uploads, if we want to restrict our uploads. And then access, some of our default access. So what do we want our global site access to be? Well, basically, in my case, in this example, if I don't restrict content, I want it available. So the default is site accessible to everyone. Now I can change this to site accessible to logged in users so that you have to log in before you see any content whatsoever. But I'm going to leave it open for anyone. And then there's some options to restrict access to post titles and offer alternate post titles for restricted content. I can customize the emails. I can customize the appearance of various things. And I can customize, there's some miscellaneous settings here. What I want to look at here first, though, is user roles. Okay. So the way that Ultimate membership works is it adds additional roles to the list of roles. So you see here that along with the previous roles that we had here, I have a role called Thompson and I have a role called Snipes. That should be Hayward. Can I edit that? I cannot. So I really should add one called Hayward. When I was experimenting before, I envisioned using my wife's family tree. All right. And then we're going to look at two other things here. First of all, we're going to look at, oh, I already got away from it. I knew I would. We're going to look at if there were any changes made to the user's screen. So let me go here and edit the user screen. And what I'm looking for is how do I assign a user to one of these user roles? And usually you do that from this page when the user first signs up. Now, I'm not sure why I'm not seeing the user role here. I suspect I'm not seeing it because I'm looking at myself. Let me see here. I'm going to create another user here real quick. I'm going to add our friend Bob again. And we'll give him his email address. And here, if I look down here, I can see I have this is where I can assign him a role. Now, right off the bat, here's the problem. A user can only have one role. So I can't assign a user both the Thompson role and the Hayward role. And that means I would have to create a third role that incorporates both and then restrict content by both Hayward and Hayward Thompson or Thompson and Hayward Thompson. So strike one. And then no role for ultimate member. It allows me to select one, add new user. Hello, Bob. Okay. And then if I edit Bob, does it let me change? Yes. Now I'm editing Bob. You see, I've got the option to change his role. And here we go. The ultimate member role is down here, but I can only assign one. So you get two from the perspective of you get the WordPress role. So I can still do one of the 5 standard: subscriber, contributor, author, editor, administrator. And on top of that, I can get the ultimate member role. But I can't assign both. To be fair, before I move away from here, how do I restrict content? So let's look at one of our pages, all pages, and let's look at the Thompson index page. So I'm going to edit that. And if I look, sometimes they're at the bottom and sometimes they are on the right-hand side. So this one's at the bottom. Restrict access to this post. Yes, I do. Who can access this post? Okay, this is only restricting by whether a user is logged in, logged out, or everyone. So that is not how I can assign the roles to restrict the content. So how do I do that? Visibility. Nope, it's not there either. All right, so for me, that's strike 2, is I've had to search too long to find out how to restrict my content. I'm a little bit impatient when it comes to that. I think these things should be very user-friendly. And since a lot of what Genealogy Website Builders does is focus on users who just want to deal with their content and not may not be very technical, I think that's a good criteria to be setting. Let's glance over at posts here real quick. Look at all posts, see if they put that here. Okay, and they have not. And then the other thing that's good to check is under the settings, sometimes you have to turn restrictions on. So access, place a restricted post, where is enable the content restriction setting for the Gutenberg blocks, enable the content restriction settings for post types, posts and pages, and for categories. Now, that's one I want to see in some other plugins, because if I can restrict by category, then I can deal with large, or tags, I can deal with large batches of users. So I can take all my Thompson's users or all my Thompson content and tag it as Thompson as a category or as a tag, if that's how they'll restrict. And okay, and then enable the content restriction settings for the Gutenberg blocks. And let's save that. Now let me go back here just really quick to my pages. And let me look at the Thompson index, add restrictions to this post. And again, I'm not seeing how to restrict the content in this post. What about in the block? If I do block level, here we go, restrict access. Who can see this block? And I'm just not seeing these other roles pop up. The only thing I can see for restricting content is logged in users or logged out users. Now, I'm sure if I spent more time digging, I'd find out how to do it. Obviously, it's a little bit less than intuitive. So I'm going to disable this plugin and move on. Oops. I'll just deactivate it for now. Oh, Ultimate Member was deactivated. Well, hold on here. Oh, it was on this page. That's all. All right, so I'm going to deactivate it. I didn't refresh this particular page. All right, so let's go back to our plugins and see if we can find another one. I meant to keep this page up and swap tabs, but I always end up forgetting and reusing tabs. So we've got Ultimate Member. The second one here is Simple Membership. Okay, and I'm just going to point out the deficiency in Simple Membership. Now, Interestingly enough, I'm not always seeing, well, I don't see it in any of these. Oh yeah, here it is. 50,000 plus active installations, 4.5 stars. So that's good. Ultimate hadn't been tested with the current version. Having been a plugin developer myself, I kind of know where that comes from sometimes. It was updated a month ago, and WordPress just came out with an update, so they just haven't kept up. Simple membership 2 weeks ago. So let's activate simple membership. And you see here now there's a WP membership entry. And if I remember under settings, the problem I had here is I can enable free membership, but it asks for the membership level. Which membership level is the free membership? Okay. Now, the problem with that, let's look at membership levels here. I've got a Snipes membership level and I've got a Thompson membership level. Again, this should be Hayward. The problem is I can only have one that's free. And that's a deal killer right there, because for my use case, all my membership levels should be free. I'm not trying to create a hierarchical tree of paid member benefits. I'm trying to create content segregation by using these memberships. All right, so right off the bat, that one kind of got struck out. I'm not going to go into a lot more detail because I don't have time to cover all of these. I'm going to look next at AR Member Lite, which apparently is a very popular one. Let's view the details again. It has 4 stars and based on 48 ratings. I guess this page doesn't tell you how many installations. Hello, Sherry. Welcome. It does not. So I'd have to go back to the plugins page, which actually, yeah, I did it again. So let's just go ahead and activate AR Member Lite. Now, AR Member Lite, there's a premium version that adds additional features. I don't know what those additional features are because it was already limited in the free edition for what I could do. And so I didn't dig any deeper. Plus, I'm not looking for, generally, the premium editions are going to add additional options for paid memberships. And that's not something I'm needing to concern myself with. So what do we have here? AR Member Lite has created its own menu option. Hello, Mary. Could you mute yourself? So let's go here and we have various settings. Let's go to general settings here first. Okay. And it has a same sort of which page do you want for your registration page? Which page do you want for your login page, etc. We talked about the importance of that. Now, what I need to do, though, is I need to manage the plans. And what are my plans? Well, I have 2 plans. I have Thompson and Snipes. Now, the thing that I liked about this is I was able to, I can have as many free plans as I want. So that's a good thing. Let's go over and look at what it did to users. Well, actually, let me come back to that since I'm bouncing all around again. Let's look at our user, Bob. And do they add things here? So the question I'm trying, there's 2 questions I need to answer on each of these right off the bat. And that is, how do I add a membership level to a user? And how do I add restrict content by membership level? So that's why I always check this page to see how I can manually update a user. And it looks like that's not what I can do from here. So let's go back here to manage members. And here you see here, I can add members. And this should be where I can, yeah, here I can edit the member. And roles I don't care about because that was something from over. But here I can assign it membership plan. And if I change the plan, I can select from Thompson or Snipes. And again, we're in that same trap. I can select one. They can either be a Thompson or a Snipe. They can't be both. So I can't group membership levels that way. This is made for a hierarchical membership, and the focus is really on paid membership plans. Where under a paid membership plan, typically you're going to only have one membership per person. So it makes sense. It just doesn't meet our requirements. So that's why I knocked this one out. So I'm going to close this. Okay. And we've got some people who just popped in. I just want to show you here very quickly what criteria I'm looking for in applying these when I'm looking for a membership plugin. I have 2 branches of my family tree. I want only family members to be able to view them, and I don't want the family from the first branch to see the tree for the second branch. I need to be able to easily add family members to a group. I need the option of adding a family member to more than one group. This is relatively arbitrary in that I could create a third group that incorporates both, but I don't want to have to do that. I need to be able to restrict pages and posts. I need to be able to see who is in each group easily. I need to be able to manually add members to a group, and I need to be able to manually approve group membership when a user requests it. And so far, none of the plugins we've looked at have made it past number 2. There is a workaround for that. So by itself, that wouldn't eliminate it from my selection criteria, but that's kind of where we are. So they've eliminated themselves either because they can't have multiple groups, or they're difficult to use, or they're difficult to use. So let me deactivate AR Member Lite, and they want to know why I'm deactivating their thing. Okay, I've got 2 others. I have paid member subscriptions, and let me just remind myself here really quick what was limiting about this one. Paid member subscriptions, see their settings, content restriction. Okay, this is how they handle restricted content. Do you get a different page, or do you get an email, or what have you? What was it I didn't like about this? Basic information. Let's look at the users page, and let's look at our friend Bob. And if I come down here to the bottom, okay, that's not how I add Bob. So how do I add Bob to a group? Here's my subscription plans, Snipes and Thompson. Members, you filter by the various plans. How do I add users to the group though? Oh, add new. And okay, I select the user. So I can definitely manually add them, but again, I can only add them to one subscription group. So I'm looking for something a little bit easier to use. And again, I come back on that. There is a workaround for that, but I know there are plugins out there that will do exactly what I want to do. Let's look at the first one of those. So I'm going to go to install plugins. I'm going to deactivate paid member subscriptions, and I'm going to go to WP members. Now, before I go there, I want to show you something about WP members. Oops, membership. So WP members isn't in the top 3 rows here, okay? You have to scroll down a little bit for it. And usually if I have to do that, I'm discouraged from using it. But I read about this one somewhere, so I decided to look it up. It has 70,000 plus installations, and it is also 4.5 stars. So I don't know why it's so far down the list, especially since a lot of these are specialty plugins or additional plugins that tie in with something else. But I'm going to look at WP members, and I'm going to be honest. I came in biased. This wasn't the one I wanted to win. However, I finished up testing with it about an hour ago, and I was surprised. And let me show you why. So I'm going to activate it. And let's go down here I'm going to complete the update here. Yada, yada. Okay. And here I have a new option called memberships. So let's click on that. And you can see here, I've already created 2 memberships. I've got the Hayward memberships and the Thompson memberships. Now, how do I add a person to a membership? Well, let me go back to users. Let's look at our friend Bob. And I scroll down to the bottom. So the very first thing is I can indicate which additional fields I want to collect at registration. Some of the other plugins also offer this, but I did want to point out that that was an option. So you could say, I want to collect this additional data. Oops. Oh, this is where I can fill in that additional data for Bob. But then I keep going down and notice here at the bottom, boom, I've got both memberships and I can enable or disable or update both memberships. Okay. So I can enable, we'll see here in just a moment, I can enable membership for Bob for both Thompson and Hayward. Now, I'm not going to do it for Bob. I'm going to do it for me because it'll be a little bit easier than logging in and out all the time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enable it for Thompson. It looks like it's already enabled here. So I'm going to enable it for Thompson, but I'm not going to enable it for Hayward. Let me update the profile. And I'm going to visit the site, go to my family tree, and I can access Thompson. And I can access what's under Thompson. If I go over to Hayward and try to see the Hayward index, boom, this content requires the following membership, Hayward. So they cannot get to that page. Now, dirty little secret, if they could, well, I'll come back to that. Let me update the membership for me. Oops. First of all, I should show you how did I limit that page. So let me refresh that. Okay, so down here under page restrictions, I can choose to restrict this page, and I can add more than one membership level that's allowed to see this page. Okay, so here I'm limiting it by Thompson. If I go to the Hayward index page, you see here I'm limiting it by Hayward. Now, if I should choose to add Thompson here, and I view the page, well, let me go back to the website. Yeah. And now you can see I can get into the page. Okay. So there's twofold flexibility here. I can add more than one, I can limit it by more than one group, which is definitely something that you want. And a member can belong to more than one group. So let me go back and change the membership for that page so that it's only Hayward. We'll update it. We'll view the page again. You see it's restricted. Now let's change my membership and come down here to the bottom and let me enable Hayward. Okay. And now let me go back to the Hayward index and boom, I can see that again. So a lot of flexibility here for free. And I was real pleased by that option to the point that I want to do additional research on this particular plugin. Now, it's very simple. There's not a lot of complicated settings. There is a settings under WP members under settings, and I can choose not to restrict posts and not to restrict pages. Again, that's the default. That's by default. Okay, so I could say I could restrict it by default. I leave it unrestricted by default and only lock down the pages or posts that require lockdown. And then I can choose to show excerpts even if it's restricted, where to show the login form, etc. There's some other features here I had to enable. Now this was, it's like I loaded a membership plugin, but I had to actually go in and turn this on for memberships to be valid. I'm not sure why, but okay. Again, you can see various pages, including the registration page. Let's take a look at the registration page here. Oh, okay. I have to play with this some more. That's a consequence of me having so many plugins that I activated. The other thing that I liked, so there is such a thing in WordPress called custom post types. Okay. And the fact is, when we look at images, when we look at a lot of things, they're actually all posts. And to give you an example, WooCommerce, one of the number one e-commerce plugins for WordPress, creates additional post types, including products. And this would allow me to include WP member settings in any kind of custom post types. Now, on this page, I only have the one, memorials, which is one that I created for another class I'm teaching. And it was good to see that I could add that post type to the post type protected by WP members. So I liked that as well. Now, the other thing is up here, you see that there's a lot of warnings. Basically, WP members will let me know that there are certain settings that for a restricted website you really should have turned on or off, and I don't have those. And that's a nice thing to have. So if I was to keep this plugin, I would go in to address all of these settings that are not recommended. There's a variety of different fields for data that I can collect at registration. I can customize what a user sees under various conditions, and I can customize who gets emails under what condition. Now, two other use cases or criteria that I have. One was I need to be able to manually add members. I need to be able to manually approve group membership when a user requests it, because I don't want people to add themselves to a membership level. And how does that get turned on? I think that's here. Here, the admin can be notified, and here we have moderate registration. So it's not that I approve a user's membership choice. It's that I approve their whole registration, and I can manually do that here. So it meets that criteria. Now, the other criteria, and I'm going to tell you right now, none of them are particularly strong at this. If I go to all pages and I go to, it's probably at the end, roots persona tree. This is a parent page that I have, and these are all the different pages that I would want to restrict. I don't want to just restrict the index page down here. Okay. I also want to restrict the pages that the index pages point to. And that's something people don't think about. It's one thing to hide the index or not give you access to the index, but people could poke around or use search and be a Thompson and still get to the Hayward content if I don't restrict those additional pages as well. And let's see here. Can I do a batch? I don't think I can. Oh, maybe I can. But it's not letting me. Restricted. Oh, those are unrestricted now. Interesting. Let me undo what I just did. This is probably going to mess up my next test. Unrestrict. Okay. So it did let me restrict, but based on what membership level. Here I've got the required membership level. Let me try one other thing for bulk, doing bulk. The reason I'm looking for a bulk option is these person pages on my real website, I literally have over 1,000. And other people that I know have 5,000 or 6,000. Well, I'm not going to go in to each individual. I don't want to have to go in to each individual one and restrict it. Okay. But that content already exists, and I do want it restricted. So I can probably deal with a batch here if it'll let me batch update. Sometimes it lets you batch update if I do a batch edit. let's see what it does here. Yeah, I don't have any restriction or required member content settings here. So I can't do that here. The other way it could be done by a membership plugin is by categories. So all my Thompson pages, for instance, I give a Thompson category. And all my Hayward pages, I give Hayward category. And if I could restrict by category, that is another way to restrict. But WP Members doesn't give me that option here. I don't see an option to restrict by category. So far, this one's definitely a candidate. My only concern is restricting content that already exists if there's a lot of content. And we saw one of the other plugins allowed you to restrict by category or tag, although it didn't live up in some of the other criteria we were going to use. So I'm going to show one more plugin. This is the one that I use, but I'm going to tell you it's got a couple limitations here that may not meet my strict criteria, and I'll tell you why I included it anyway in just a moment. But right now, top of the list is WP Members, because it lets me handle majority of what I want to do. We go back to plugins, look at my installed plugins. Let me deactivate WP Members. And the one that I use is Paid Memberships Pro. Now, when I say I use it, let me go ahead and activate it. Obviously, I have paid memberships. So the Genealogy website builders website is a membership website. And I have the ability to, I pay, there are different plans. People pay for access to different levels of information. So my criteria in choosing Paid Membership Pro, which is one of the standards, is where I had a little more complex criteria than just I have a website and I want to segment my content. But let's go ahead and look at this one. So here again, I've got memberships now. Is that okay? Yeah, I got memberships, and let me go under settings. And here I was able to earlier create two membership levels, the Thompson membership and the Snipes membership level. And I could make them both free. So that was a winner. There's a lot of options that make sense for paid memberships that don't make a lot of sense with what we're doing. So I'm going to skip over those. But here I can pull up the members, and no one belongs to any membership level at this time. So there is an export CVS levels. Right now I'm looking at all levels. So first, let's see how we add users. Let's look at our friend Bob. And let me scroll down. And here I can assign membership level. Okay. Now, right off the bat, you see it has the same limitation that I excluded other plugins for, and that's that I can only choose one membership. However, there are extensions to this plugin that allow me to assign multiple memberships to a user. And that's why I didn't totally throw it out. Okay. But yes, one of my criteria was, I can assign multiple memberships, and this is not passing that criteria vanilla. But that's why I still included it, is because there are add-ons, extensions that will allow me to do that. Oh, actually, let me add, well, I'm not going to add Bob. I'm going to add myself. Allow users. Let's go to myself. Let's go to Thompson. Let me add myself to Thompson again. There are other options here. Update profile. And then let's look at how we restrict content. Pages, all pages. Let me look at my index first and my Thompson index. And I look over here, and it's just the checklist of you need to belong to what membership level to be able to see this page. And I can select more than one. And that's how different levels on Genealogy website builders works, is some of the pages are one membership level, some of them are multiple membership levels. Now I'm just going to say Thompson for this one. And I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go to the Hayward index. And I'm going to choose Snipes for this one. This was supposed to be Hayward, by the way, and it's still a membership level. So let me update that. All right, now let's see what happens when I go to the website. Okay, again, Hayward family tree. This content is for Snipes members only. If I select join now, okay, this is going to let me select Snipes, but in doing so, and it's a paid thing, even though it's 0. If I select this and go through with it, it's going to take me out of Thompson, okay, because I don't have that extension. But it is kind of handy in that it gives you a button to where users can upgrade their membership. Again, it's hierarchical, unfortunately. But here I can see the Thompson stuff because I belong to the Thompson group. All right, so one fail, one pass there. Let's see, what were the other two things? Manually add members to a group. So if I look at all memberships, oops. All right, memberships, settings. And if I go to members, now you can see I'm listed in a membership here. But there's no option here to add members to a group. Okay, so I can't manually go in and add a member to a group. Okay, so that's strike 2. Again, there's an extension for that allows you to do that. It does require that one I know definitely requires payment. So it's got this second strike against it. Why am I going on and not stopping? Again, because it's the one I use for actual paid memberships. So I just wanted to take it through the whole thing.
Ed, can I ask a quick question?
Certainly.
When you went in and you showed like you wanted to join the Hayward.
Huh?
So what you're saying is in this plugin, it doesn't put you in a queue to be approved. Like the other one, they signed up and then it went into a queue where you approved the registration.
So that's the next thing I'm going to check.
Okay, this one doesn't do that from that point though.
That's not necessarily true. Let's see what the settings have. Let's see here. Dashboard set. Oh, that's just the dashboard. Let's go to settings, orders report settings. Okay. Various options, various message changes, show excerpts to non-members, required terms of service, notifications and activity, email frequency, hide ads, enable tracking, and uninstall on deletion. So you are correct. Without an add-on, let's look at the add-ons. Without an add-on, I can't do that. Okay. And let's see what I can do for free here. There are a lot of add-ons to this because it's a popular one. It integrates well if you're selling courses, which invite only is an option, but you have to be on a plus license for that. Can I filter this for free based on free? Yeah, I can. And you're correct. I can't. Nor is there a batch option for me to. Well, let's look at I looked at how it restricts data. So there's no easy batch option for restricting a large amount of content that already exists. Let me verify that by selecting those 4 and see if there's bulk actions. Oh, I have to hit apply. I always forget that. Yeah, and there's nothing here to allow me to do with large batches of data. So neither, I came in with a bias. I'll be honest with you. I came in with a bias. This was the one that I assumed was going to win. It wasn't going to have everything. but it was still going to come out the strongest contender because nothing had everything. And the things that it was missing could be handled with extensions, though that involves payment. However, it's very clear that the winner is, and I'm glad I retried it this morning, WP members. If you're looking for something simple and you're not running a paid membership site, you're just wanting to segregate data and keep your family data separate, WP members, in terms of free options, seems to be the winner. Let's see what the premium plugin add-ins are, just real quick. Advanced options, download, protect, invite codes. That means you have to be invited to a group. There's WooCommerce integration. There is support here for paid options. Thing is about paid options, and this is why the need to manually approve wasn't originally important to me. And that's it. That is the process of adding someone to a membership takes them through a shopping cart experience. And if they're allowed to go through the shopping cart experience, which means they paid, then I don't need to manually approve it. I don't want to manually approve it. They've purchased it. I want them to have that product right away. So that's why when I originally evaluated plugins for myself, I went to Paid Membership Pro because it's one of the top ones. It has excellent integration with WooCommerce. I don't know here, this one has integration with WooCommerce as well. So again, it's still a winner. I think in general, PM Pro is going to have more integrations with other things I wanted to integrate with, which is my mailing program, etc. But if you're running a family website and you're just trying to limit who can see different content or who can see different family trees, WP members is a very good option. If you're running a Genealogy Society website and you're just trying to restrict content, WP members is a very good option. Now, if you're doing that, chances are you only have one membership level. So you're not worried about the option of being able to support multiple memberships. So in that case, PM Pro would still be on the table for societies. But if you're just looking for something very simple, you saw how quickly I was able to navigate through. It's intuitive and it can accomplish the task. So I got to give, if I had stars, I give 4 out of 5 stars to WP members, and I'd have to give 3.5 stars to PM Pro. And some of the other ones that we went through, I probably would have to increase my evaluation of them based on, I was comparing them against PM Pro, and we saw its weaknesses as well. However, if you're just looking for something simple, WP members looks like an excellent option. And that's what I wanted to present. That's the other thing. Now, there is one other thing, and I didn't look deep. The other thing that you want, let me visit the website, and I've got WP members in there. I'm going to go to the customizer, and I want to look at menus, because even it'd be nice if the options that you weren't eligible to see didn't show up in the menu unless you had the right membership level. That is another thing you want to be able to do. One of the other plugins allowed you to do that. I don't remember which one it was, but let's just do a quick look here and see if there's any restrictions that I can put on these options. And it looks like not. So it doesn't look like I can restrict membership menu options with this plugin. And I don't think I can with PM Pro either. there are other ways to, well, if I didn't have too many options, right now I've got two, Thompson, Hayward, Snipes, Thompson and Snipes. On my website, if I wanted to do this, I'd have four, one for each of my grandparents, and I would consider those the branches. So I'd want four memberships. I could create different menus for different options and then display those menus conditionally, because my theme allows me to do that. Cadence theme allows me to display conditional menus. But again, a little bit complicated, and that's not on Cadence. That's on the plugin. And I saw one briefly that supported that, but I don't know. Not many of them do. Yeah. So that was it. But I did want to talk about that. It can be a little bit hard to limit menu options. You just limit the content based on the content itself, not the navigation. Do we have any other questions? Are there any plugins that you feel like I didn't cover? Or are there any use cases you feel like I didn't cover?
Did you happen to look at the one that was called S2 as the starting name of it? It was one that I had come across and I saw it on the page, but I haven't had much chance to really look at it deeply. I was just wondering if you had looked at it at all.
And what was it called?
It starts with S2. It's toward the down, further down, like near where you had the WP member. There it is, S2, lower right corner.
Yeah, I've never looked at it. Let's see. It's geared especially towards paid memberships. Member user levels, custom access, content protection. Let's run it through its paces here real quick.
Okay.
All right. Now, what I want to do though is I want to turn off the other one. Let me deactivate that. All right. So the first thing I want to do, other than close the nag, is let me look at the settings. There's a getting started guide. That's nice. It looks like they really are trying to help you navigate some stuff. PayPal options are for paid memberships, and there's different things for tracking list servers. Okay. Integration with your email programs. That's not a lot. Some of them had fewer, some of them had more. Other integrations, bbPress integration of some sort there. That can be a plus. But we're just this. There we go. General options. Okay. Plugin deletion safeguards, security encryption key. Okay, this is all security stuff. Open registration, member levels. Let's see what we got here. Level 0 is free. Member level 1 is bronze.
So this is probably one of those things where you're only allowed one level too.
Yeah. And again, you saw that even the one I use has that limitation. WordPress itself has that limitation. You know, in the 5 basic roles, you can only belong to one role. And I heard that in a future version of WordPress, they may add additional flexibility there. But right now it's not. All right, so the general options, it looks like you can only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different membership levels. They're defined hierarchically. Restriction options, post access, page access, tag access, and category access. So this one, if I can, see, this is hierarchical.
Oh,
So
okay.
even though I could create a Thompson and a Hayward, the whichever one I put higher would have access to everything below it. So this is really made, I mean, it's excellent that you can do it by categories and tags or tags, because that would handle my, gee, I've got 2,000 people, because I can batch update categories. So I could just add the different pages to the proper categories and they would automatically be restricted. However, this isn't the plugin that's going to help me do that because it's strictly hierarchical in terms of membership levels. And then I'm not going to worry about download options. So, Richard, I wouldn't put it on my list.
Okay. Your list and your criteria are very similar to mine. So I
Yeah.
appreciate the work you've done.
Yeah. It, again, well, no, you were here at the start. So, I went into this with a bias. I'd be unapologetic for it if I hadn't found WP members did so much better than I thought it did. I'm glad I retested it. So, other questions? Mark, did you have any?
No questions.
Okay. Karen?
No, I didn't have any questions, but I did appreciate the information on the WP members. I had heard about it, and I think that actually, based on what I saw, will work best for me.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I think the reason I didn't think very highly of it is strictly because it wasn't in the first 3 rows. But there's a lot of garbage in the first 3 rows that pushes stuff down. And with 70,000 plus installs and a 4.5 rating, I think it's a safe bet that it's a decent plugin. So what happened was earlier today, I went back through and retested each of them so that I could remember why I had kicked them out as a number 1 option. And I was pleasantly surprised by WP members when I did that. I missed some stuff the first time. So I was glad I did that.
I know a number of genealogy societies that decided to build in WordPress have used that WP members. That's
Okay.
their go-to. But generally the societies, have, maybe an individual and a family and possibly a senior level.
Yeah.
But they still have all the same access. They don't have to have access limitations except for if you are a member.
Well, and that was a conversation I had with Dear Myrtle about this actually being a presentation that many societies would appreciate.
Yeah.
I want to double check something here, and that is restriction levels on custom post types. Yeah, and that could be a limitation of, let me see, was this the one that I had to turn it on? Yes, okay. And then let me go back. Now let me edit that. And yeah, I have my restrictions that I can add. So that's cool. That's good to know. I think I'm going to use this on my non e-commerce websites. I don't see options here for payments and such. Fields, dialogues, emails. Yeah, it doesn't look like this is for paid membership sites. So that's the difference. They could focus on other things because they didn't have to worry about paid memberships. And that from a design perspective, they came at it from a different angle since they weren't worried about paid memberships. So